So we loved it.
You guys are the coolest people we'd ever met.
Yeah, when we grow up, we want to be like you.
Yeah.
Now we have a good life. We really have a good life together.
Are we?
Yeah.
Oh yes, we are.
I was thinking the other day, we've been going through some of our CDs and things, and some of those records that we did that you and I produced together, and the French group, and
Yeah.
the Hungarian records, and it was really special. It was an incredible time.
Yeah.
Talk about that a little bit, because that was right in the middle of everything you were doing with Christian artists. Seminar in Europe.
We did Christian artists 40 years. And we did it 40 years. And that was also for us a special, very special.
It followed automatically out of Continentals, because Continentals traveled all across Europe and met upcoming great talent, but not to join Continentals, but for a professional career.
Yeah.
We knew already for some years the American Christian Artist Seminar. So I spoke with Cam. I think it's time we should start this in Europe. So he came over, and that was in 1980, and we went to DeBron, and it had a little bit the feeling of Estes Park in the Rockies. So he agreed that could be
a good place.
A good place.
Yeah.
So I remember in 81 the first seminar, and that was more or less middle of the road music, a little bit worship. That was it. Because in those days, the churches were incredible narrow-minded, and something else is from the devil. Even I remember the first concert of Continentals having a drum set in a church. Wow. Never on Sunday church service, but it was a concert, so they allowed it. But it was like a revolution in some churches.
Wow.
So, and then slowly at CA, we enlarged it to every music style. So we had that in 85, including Christian heavy metal and all that. Can you imagine, from classical to Christian heavy metal? And then we added dance and all the performing arts. So it started with one dancer. And then when that got accepted, we could enlarge it. And then in 87, 88, the fine arts.
That was a big thing. That was for all of us. And I also remember Cam was, this was for Cam.
Almost a bridge too far.
But I think that was but also for the musicians and the fine art people, that how could that mix together? And but that worked very well. Worked very, very well.
Going back to Eastern Europe, I got a note from Nancy Weckerer, was in those days the coordinator for Cam for all the foreign tours. So she dropped me a note about Poland. She had there some contacts, and could I proceed on that and to see a communist country, was it safe? So Nancy and I worked on that, and in those days our Lord Protector in Poland was the Cardinal of the Catholic Church. So the Catholic Church and the communist government, that was fighting each other. The Catholic Church saw Continentals as an interesting tool to tease the communists, because they had Christian youth music, and that was forbidden in Poland. In all the communist nations, they hated it. So it was forbidden on the radio, you couldn't have records, all that stuff. So that first tour in Poland, it had happened that such a Catholic cathedral had 3,000 seats, 6,000 people showed up. And if you have the picture of the Catholic Church, you have at the end, you have the altar, and normally before the altar is a platform, and then you have two doors outside. Yeah. So people kept pushing forward. Well, the people at the front almost died of pressure. they sneaked away out of those 2 doors and came in at the back again to push to get forward. The first tour to Poland must have been in 73.
Okay.
Yeah.
And in 74, New Hope went on tour through Europe, including Poland.
Yeah.
New Hope had once, was an absolute miracle. So they traveled with one of our buses. And so this was somewhere in Poland. They had done a concert in a church. And they were housed somewhere in a monastery. So after a concert, they drove on the road in one of our buses to that site. And our bus driver was a Dutchman. He sees 150 meters, 150 yards before him that cars at the other side of the road stopped. And he thought, what strange. So he put on his brake, so he stopped the bus. The next moment, a train passed. If he wouldn't have stopped, they all would have been killed. And there were no lights. There were no lights.
Wow.
So that is an amazing story of God's protection.
Dat was, hoe zeg je dat ik altijd bezorgd was?
Concerns.
Yeah, I was always very concerned about that. All the young kids, they travel with the buses and they travel everywhere. And I can tell you that every time when they came back, I was like, oh my God.
Really.
So beautiful. It is gone. But I thought the parents were sometimes not so worried as me. I was very worried about it. Yeah, it is also, hoe zeg je het, waarde verantwoord? We are responsible. It is ours. Yeah, you are responsible for the groups.
You were the first ones to have a Continental kids group. I mean, the Young Continents had started in the U.S. And I still think that was one of Cam's most brilliant ideas. And you kind of took it to another level and did a kids group. What ages were those?
What we saw during concert, that in the aisles, younger kids started to dance with the music. So it started with teenage kids.
Yeah.
And that was the reason that in 91, 92, we started with Young Continentals. That was almost at the same time as in America. But that was complete different music, style, teenage music. And the younger kids loved it so much, so they started to dance as well in the aisles. So in 98, 99, we did an experiment with younger kids, if that would work. Then we had to make some alterations in the program and learning and teaching how rehearsal camp should be. And that was the beginning of the success of Continental Kids. Yeah, and there are still kids on the road now in Romania and Hungary and Slovakia. Yeah. That's fun.
It's pretty exciting.
But I think it's also, of course, for all of us, was Eastern Europe. Yeah, it was another, also for the Americans, also for us. But it's amazing that now in Romania, that is the big.
Yeah.
10 groups on
they
the
are now the
It's the
example.
largest continental operation in the world,
us.
Romania.
Yeah. That's special.
It's special for me too, because I directed the first US group to ever visit Romania in 84.
Yeah.
And then it was, heavily communist and we were watched.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
And now to think of it with, 8 or 10 groups a year on the road is amazing.
Yeah.
That's got revenge. That is an interesting story about Romania. In the late 80s, you could feel that the whole atmosphere was changing in some of the nations. So Julia Winterberg came to me.
Mm-hmm.
She was just a Christian artist and American Continental director, and said she felt a calling for to start Continentals in Hungary. That was in 86. And Nancy Weggener was ook at CA. I said, well, let's first have a talk. And I have to admit, I really put her on a hot plate to find out, is this a real calling of God or not? Because if you have just an idea and you go to live there, you are alone, you will not survive.
No.
And I had to protect her for the big dissolution of her life. Anyway, she convinced me it was God's calling. So we helped her to start up in Hungary. But that was a male society. Eh? So a woman has nothing to say in the church those days.
There are still churches.
Unfortunately. So what I did, 4 times a year, I flew to Budapest. And I had a cover-up as travel agent. So I had, let's say, the owner of the big bus company where we got the buses. He liked very much our mission. And I was officially recognized by him as travel agent. I had all the numbers and cards and all that stuff. So I could easily go to Budapest as travel agent to prepare tourist visits. Yeah. And in the meantime, I could visit Julia. And then she had worked 3 months with contacts with pastors and leaders, and it's very complicated. And then in a week, we visited then those churches, and I was man, and I have all my grades, you know, and I'm important. Total stupid, of course. But then she got it all done. And that was a great success that she could start Continentals Hungary. Yeah. Yeah. But then the secret police got behind it. And because it was an illegal activity, you cannot start as American, a Christian youth group in Hungary singing, in those days, American or translated songs. No way, it's forbidden. You go to jail. So I remember a call from Julia, and we had, let's say, secret words. Yeah, because every phone call, the KGB is listening. And then we decided that Continental Hungary would not exist. And one of the following days, the pastor of the Reformed Church where they were rehearsing got a phone call. Hey, is something like Continentals rehearsing with you? No, he said, we only have our choir Jubilator. Right. So it has been Jubilator till the change in 89, and then right. Official Continentals could start.
I have so much respect for Julia. And of course, she's on our board for Global Foundation, and she's still very connected to Hungary. She still travels there once or twice a year. Yeah. She's proved it was a calling in the beginning, didn't she?
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Have you ever wished you could gift your life-changing Continental experience to someone else? Well, you can. Your monthly giving can make a huge impact for our teams all over the world. Did you know that this year, we'll have more than 20 Continental groups on the road, communicating in 7 different languages? The Continental story goes on, so keep writing your part of it by being on our support team. And our groups will say, thank you, in 7 different languages.
All over the world, God's Spirit